Right, how are we doing everybody? Welcome to Russell Heritage Golf. Today we're going to be talking about impact. And are you fed up of looking stuck, flippy, potentially excessively chicken wingy coming in towards that impact area? It's something which plagues many amateur golfers. What we're going to do in today's video is we're not only going to understand the reasons as to why you're doing that, we're also going to uncover how one move plus a bit of information and knowledge can completely revolutionize how you're going to be hitting the golf ball after you've watched this video. Now look, the first thing we have to all understand is that we are trying to hit the ball straight. We are desperately trying to find a way to keep the club on plane and get the club face square coming in towards that impact area. The reason why we look flippy is going to be because of, shall we say, a sequencing issue. So if you get the sequence wrong coming in towards the downswing, then that's the reason why you're going to look indifferent. First thing that we have to understand is the concept of plane. Now what this basically means is how should the club head be moving through the impact area? And we're just going to be focusing, say, a foot pre-impact to a foot post-impact. Okay, so what needs to happen in that area point in time? Well, the first thing we can agree on is that we want the club face. Yes, it will be still moving from a state of opening to closing, but we don't want any excessive rotation. So we want the club face to look quite square, as if it's pointing towards the ball at this moment in time. Apart from that, we also need to be trying to swing the club on plane. Now, if you're uncertain as to what this means, then hopefully this visual is going to really help you out. As long as the shaft of the golf club is pointing down towards your ball to target line, this would basically mean you're on plane. So the shaft of the club essentially travels in a straight line when we swing the golf club. But the reason why the club head works on an arc is because the hands and arms work to the side of the body. So a perfect reference to what on plane means, if there's any of you out there that are uncertain, is as long as the shaft is traveling in a straight line, then that means the club head will actually travel on an arc. And if you can't quite get your head around that, I would strongly suggest you buy yourself a laser pen, really cheap and accessible, and practice. Put yourself a target line down similar to the demonstration that you've seen, and do the same thing. Now, what we'll identify is that even with the club face and even with the understanding of plane, you can still abide by those two principles, but do it in a way where you would still look flicky and a little bit bent coming in towards this hitting area. And that's why you can hit some shots straight. So the last component that we need is shaft lean. So as well as understanding the club face and as well as understanding the laser pen and what's known as plane, we also have to understand how the hands are moving. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that the hands are getting ahead of the club head at the point of impact. That's the big thing. If you can do that, then what you'll find is that you're going to reduce any flippiness. But there's a slight problem, because when you next get the opportunity to practice this with your laser pen tool, or hopefully it will resonate from this video on its own, is that all of a sudden, if you start introducing just shaft lean on its own, you'll start to notice the way the laser pen will start to point to the right for a right-handed golfer of our target line. And that's a problem, because you can't do that and hit the ball straight. So what is the thing that is missing? And this is what we can again see from the countless amounts of golf swings that come into me from the Instagram channel. And I'm going to be using a lot more of these swings moving forward. So give me a follow on that Instagram page as well, because I'm going to be putting more content out on that moving forward. But we need rotation. We desperately need rotation. And the one thing that we're going to be focusing on today is the lead leg. Because for the last couple of years since I've been doing the YouTube channel, I have been talking a lot about this transitional movement. And there is plenty of videos on my channel where I talk about this. I talk about the importance of getting downward facing. But what you can also see from today is if we're trying to get this impact area tidied up, we still need to rotate through the hit. So how do we go from this Well, we know that we need to do this, but we now know that the laser pen is working in the wrong direction, so we need to rotate through that hitting area. And the key move, it's all about this lead leg. See, what happens with a lot of amateurs, again, the ones that I'm defining as flippy, is that they might start the downswing with a bit of rotation. But what we see with professional golfers now is the big difference between the amateur and the pro, is the lead leg continues to move towards the target. The leg can straighten, it can stay flexed. That's pretty irrelevant. But the key thing is that the upper part of the leg starts to point towards the target. The left hip, or our lead hip, starts to work more back into the center of the stance. And by triggering this rotation coming in towards this impact area means that you can keep your hands leading. It's going to trigger rotation, but you're still going to be abiding by plane, which means you can do this and hit the ball straight. So it's a really, really important key thing to understand is this left leg, or this lead leg position. Now, what I would suggest is that, yes, it's absolutely fine if you're kind of resonating with this video to start with your foot more forward facing. That's absolutely fine. The other thing you could do is create yourself a little grid system. So if you were to divide the mat into quarters, what you would then do is that when you start coming in towards the impact position, you want to imagine that your lead hip is working into the back segment. And again, that will just paint a much stronger visual. And I do that with a lot with people I work online, and it really helps them out visually understand how to get that clearance. So it's a really important thing. That sort of grid system is a great little drill and a reference that works, like I said, really well with people that I've had the opportunity to work with. And if you want to get rid of that flippiness, then you need to make sure that you understand the concept of playing, and you also understand the importance that the lead leg plays in your role coming in towards that hitting area. If you don't understand both of those, that's exactly the reason why you'll always revert back into that sort of flippy hit. So, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Always appreciate a thumbs up and a like. Remember, it's absolutely free to subscribe. If you're going to do so, press the little bell icon. So that means you'll receive notifications every time a new video comes out. Get yourself some laser pens, work on that grid system. I'll catch up with you guys again really, really soon.